we know that being politically correct and the DEI got us Kamala Harris as a vice president. Yeah. And now we know that so many different industries have been hurt. Is this part of the process? When you have the DIA director saying, when you have the Secret Security director saying this about her goals for the agency, listen.
We need to attract diverse candidates and ensure that we are developing and giving opportunities to everybody in our workforce, and particularly women.
Her goal was 30% of the force being women. Why? Just get the best people, for goodness sakes.
That's ridiculous. And as a combat guy, as a veteran, as a West Point guy, I really don't care what race, religion, color, creed you are. I want the best person for the job.
Without enough black Secret Service agents to blame the failed assassination attempt on, conservatives use DEI to blame women. Bigoted Republicans are using the Trump shooting to advance exclusionary politics on this watch list.
The problem is there's nothing to replace Boeing. Yeah. It is, you got Airbus and you got Boeing, and it really hurts Americans' defense. It hurts America's transportation. It hurts America's economy. And the question is this about DEI? Are you not hiring the best people? Are you hiring the most diverse people? We already saw what it's done to the White House. They went over the top with diversity. They hired a bunch of people that don't even like Joe Biden. They're protesting him. Is that causing quality problems here?
The only reason someone like Brian Kilmeade wonders if DEI is to blame for any and every problem that arises from Boeing plane crashes to law enforcement failing to identify and neutralize the guy that shot at Trump over the weekend is if they need to use it to keep their supremacy complex alive.
I've talked to a Marine sniper today, SEAL sniper, former CIA operator, and they all say the same thing. How the hell did he get on top of that roof? If you look at the pictures, he didn't go through the top of the roof. There had to be a ladder or something. Somebody really dropped the ball. You've got a DEI, basically a DEI initiative person who heads up our Secret Service. She was working at Pepsi before this. I know she was a former Secret Service agent, but still, this is what happens when you don't put the best players in. It's a complete failure on our part.
Congressman Tim Burchett doesn't even realize that he illustrated exactly why diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are necessary when bigots like him are in gatekeeping positions. He was focused on the fact that the woman who leads the Secret Service once worked at Pepsi, before admitting that she also has experience with the Secret Service, 25 years to be exact. When people like him are hell-bent on blocking opportunities for anyone that doesn't fit the identity he sees as superior, his only argument is that they're unqualified. Someone should remind him that a woman wasn't in charge when James Garfield, William McKinley, and JFK were shot and killed. And when Republicans' previous favorite president, Ronald Reagan, was shot, the Secret Service director at the time, H. Stuart Knight, wasn't criticized for being too white or male to handle the job. But real quick, I always have to remind y'all of who Tim Burchett is when it comes to a gunman shooting little kids in school versus one that shoots at Donald Trump. This was his response to 3 9-year-olds being murdered at a school in his home state of Tennessee.
It's a horrible, horrible situation, and we're not going to fix it. Criminals are going to be criminals. I don't see any real role that we could do other than mess things up. If somebody wants to take you out and doesn't mind losing their life, there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it. There's really, I don't think you're going to stop the gun violence. I think you've got to change people's hearts.
What should be done to protect people like your little girl from being safe at school?
Well, we homeschool her, but that's our decision.
Maybe it's Burchett's disqualifying characteristics of being a wealthy, white, Republican, Christian male that forced him to dismiss the lives of those kids and 3 school employees that day. Notice how it's never their fault for the vast majority of tragedies that happen on their watch?
What does DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, have to do? Was it the best agents, or was it DEI that placed those agents there? I hate to say it, I saw some agents that looked like they didn't have a clue.
Now, people like that cop only see the women that look flustered and panicked, and somehow overlook all the men that were responsible for the same scene. Let's see how many women or minorities this eyewitness pointed out failed to do their jobs when he was yelling for them to do something about it.
So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking, I'm estimating here, I have no idea, but we noticed the guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out. We were telling the police, we were pointing at them for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Now, I must have missed the part where he said the all-female Secret Service detail and police officers stumbled and bumbled as he and other regular people told them exactly where they saw the gunman set up. Maybe CBS reporter Olivia Rinaldi's account of the scene confirmed who all these conservatives are saying are responsible. There were 3 snipers stationed inside the building the shooter was on, according to a local law enforcement officer with direct knowledge. One of the snipers inside saw Crooks outside looking up at the roof, observing the building, and then disappeared, according to local law enforcement. Then Crooks came back, sat down, and was looking on his phone, and at that point, one of the snipers took a picture of him. Then Crooks took out a rangefinder, and the sniper radioed to the command post. Crooks disappeared again and then came back a 3rd time with a backpack. The snipers called in with information that he had a backpack and said he was walking towards the back of the building. Officers believe that Crooks might have used an air conditioning unit to get on top of the roof. By the time other officers came for backup, he had climbed on top of the building and was positioned above and behind the snipers inside the building. 2 other officers who heard the snipers' call came and tried to get onto the roof. State police started rushing to the scene. But that time, a Secret Service sniper had already killed Crooks, according to the law enforcement officer. The officer said also Crooks had an IED in his pocket in addition to the explosive materials in his car. Questions remain about how this was possible, that several law enforcement officers had eyes on the shooter before and reported his behavior. Yet this still happened. Conservatives have been outraged by the number of jokes ridiculing the shooting or outright wishing it would have ended much worse for Trump. But they're not concerned about the extreme amount of politics being played by Republicans that only see this as an opportunity to advance their political narratives on division and hatred.
One thing that I have found upsetting, if I can editorialize for 1 second, is the degree to which so many Americans claim to love their country but hate their fellow Americans. And I'm not talking about Republicans or Democrats. I see it everywhere. And I'm wondering if that's something that concerns you too.
It does. That's what I said. The greatest threat to our nation right now is that we're horribly divided. But again, in general, we share the same goals. So, why are we so divided? Well, there are political figures, there are political groups. I would argue that's what identity politics is about. That's what critical race theory is about. So there are people who are purposely trying to divide us for political advantage. Resist it. Don't let them get away with it